New York City. Skyscrapers, yellow taxis, Broadway lights, but also poverty, crime, and constant change. Through its history, one person has carried the weight of the city on their shoulders, the mayor. Each mayor of New York City has left a mark, for good and bad. Some rebuilt the city after disaster. Some nearly bankrupted it. Others changed society in ways people still debate today. In the next 10 minutes, we'll race through the lives and legacies of New York's most important mayors, from Fiorello LaGuardia to Zohran Mamdani, and see how each one shaped the city we know now. First, let us understand, what does the mayor of New York City actually do? The mayor runs a city of over 8 million people, controls a budget bigger than many small countries, and oversees the police, housing, schools, transportation, health, almost everything. The mayor's decisions affect not just New Yorkers, but often influence how other big cities in America operate. This is not just a political job, it's a massive leadership role. And in New York's history, some mayors treated it like business, some like activism, and others like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Their choices built bridges and subways, fought crime, sparked protests, or sometimes ignored social problems. Now, let's dive in, one mayor at a time. Fiorello LaGuardia, 1934-1945, the rebuilder. Our story begins with Fiorello LaGuardia, mayor during one of New York's darkest hours, the Great Depression. LaGuardia was charismatic, honest, and tough. He took on corrupt city bosses, cleaned up the government, and brought energy to a dying city. He launched construction projects, building airports, parks, and public housing. He also worked with President Roosevelt's New Deal to bring federal money into New York. He fought the mafia, challenged political machines, and insisted on public service. Under him, New York began to rebuild, physically and morally. But not everyone loved his style. His strict reforms upset old political networks. Some people feared he had too much power. Still, history remembers him as one of the greatest mayors for a reason. He saved New York when it was on its knees. William O'Dwyer, 1946 to 1950, the scandal mayor. Next came William O'Dwyer, a wartime hero turned political leader. Right after World War II, people hoped for renewal, but his time was marked by dark undercurrents. Corruption weakened his administration. Bribery scandals involving the police and local businesses erupted. High-ranking officers were implicated. O'Dwyer was accused of ignoring it all, or worse, allowing it. Eventually, the pressure became too much. He resigned and left the country, escaping political chaos. His tenure remains a reminder, even in hopeful times, corruption can poison power. Robert Wagner Jr., 1954 to 1965, the modernizer. Then came Robert F. Wagner Jr., a reformer with a vision. Wagner focused on social housing, labor rights, and culture. He believed that New York's greatness depended on its people, especially working-class families. Under him, public housing expanded. He supported powerful labor unions, negotiated smartly with businesses, and backed arts institutions. He helped reshape neighborhoods and gave many New Yorkers a stronger voice. Yet, not all parts of his plan were popular. His slum clearance programs displaced people from poor neighborhoods. Critics said his progress came with a human cost. But Wagner's legacy is deeply woven into the structure of post-war New York. The modern city started taking shape under his leadership. John Lindsay, 1966 to 1973, the Hollywood mayor. Enter John Lindsay, tall and charismatic, part politician, part socialite, part movie star. He brought glamour to City Hall. Lindsay tried to tackle racial tensions, civil rights, and urban poverty. He welcomed protesters and defended free speech. His goal, to make New York progressive, just, and forward-looking. But his tenure was not easy. Crime soared, the city struggled financially. Lindsay's ambitious plans often clashed with reality. Many people believed he cared more about style than substance. His leadership was brave, but deeply flawed. A mayor who dreamed big, but could not always deliver. Abraham Beame, 1974 to 1977, the bankruptcy years. When Abraham Beame took office, New York was bleeding money. The city was on the verge of complete financial collapse. Beame inherited huge debt, a shrinking tax base, and panicked banks. Garbage piled up, public services shut down, and the city seemed to be failing fast. One of the most shocking moments came when the president refused to bail out New York. Remember the infamous headline, "Ford to City, Drop Dead"? That was real, a symbol of how desperate things were. Beame did what he could, but he couldn't stop New York's worst financial crisis until after he left. His term is a cautionary tale. Even the greatest city can nearly run out of money. Ed Koch, 1978 to 1989, the comeback king. Rise again, that was Ed Koch's mission. With his signature question, "How am I doing?" He connected with New Yorkers. He rebuilt confidence. He brought economic recovery. He encouraged business, revitalized neighborhoods, and restored civic pride. Under Koch, New York began to feel like a comeback city. Tourists returned, investors came back. However, his leadership was not without controversy. His administration saw corruption cases, city contractors, city workers, and he was often criticized for his handling of homelessness and the AIDS crisis. Still, Koch remains one of New York's most unforgettable mayors, energetic, blunt, and deeply tied to his city. David Dinkins, 1990 to 1993, the first black mayor. In 1990, New York made history by electing David Dinkins, its first black mayor. His election symbolized hope for many marginalized communities. He believed in unity. He tried to bring people together, white, black, Latino, Asian, all calling New York home. He focused on fairness in policing, housing, and jobs. Crime, for the first time in years, started to inch downward under his watch. He added more police officers, but also pushed for community policing. Yet his time in office had a dark moment. The Crown Heights riot erupted in 1991 after a tragic accident and turned into a blaze of racial tension. Many blame Dinkins for not controlling it fast enough. He was a symbol of change, but his term was fragile, a reminder of how divided New York really was then. Then came one of the most famous mayors in American history, Rudy Giuliani. Giuliani's focus was simple and powerful: get crime down. And he did. Crime rates dropped dramatically under his administration. He cleaned Times Square, improved public safety, and rebuilt New York's image. When 9/11 struck, he became America's mayor, a rock of stability in a sea of chaos. But his strong-arm tactics came at a cost. He supported stop and frisk, a policing policy that many say targeted Black and Latino communities unfairly. He was accused of racial profiling and being too harsh. Still, for many, his impact is unforgettable. He transformed New York into a safer, more confident city, but left behind deep debate on civil rights. Michael Bloomberg, 2002 to 2013, the billionaire boss. Michael Bloomberg arrived not as a politician, but a businessman. He treated New York like his company. He modernized transportation, built bike lanes, helped schools, created massive parks, and pushed green initiatives. He made the city more global, more efficient, more future-friendly. But power has a price. He backed stop and frisk, which brought major criticism. He also passed public health rules, like limiting soda sizes, that made headlines and meme fodder. Bloomberg's legacy is powerful. He professionalized city government, but his style was technocratic, top-down, and sometimes controversial. Bill de Blasio, 2014 to 2021, the progressive divider. Next was Bill de Blasio, a politician of the people. He came in promising big changes: fairness, justice, and equity. One of his proudest achievements: universal pre-K, free early childhood education for thousands of New York kids. He spoke about income inequality and vowed to help working-class families. Yet over time, his popularity split. On one side were the progressives and poor communities, on the other, critics who said he was soft on crime. He clashed with police, and some blamed him for a growing crime wave. His idealism inspired many, but his leadership frustrated others. Eric Adams, 2022 to about 2025, the cop turned mayor. Then came Eric Adams, a former police officer who promised to make New York safe again. Adams focused on crime, subway security, and business recovery after the pandemic. He pitched himself as someone who knew policing from the inside. But his time in office also saw serious problems: corruption investigations, conflicts, and criticism that his safety-first agenda ignored bigger economic issues. Adams is a controversial figure. Some call him a pragmatic reformer. Others see him as too close to the systems he once served. Zohran Mamdani, 2025 to present, a new chapter. And now, the current chapter in New York's long history, Zohran Mamdani, New York City's first Muslim mayor and among the youngest ever elected. Mamdani's vision is radical, but simple: make life more affordable for regular people. He proposes free buses, city-run grocery stores, and massive affordable housing. He wants to raise taxes on the richest New Yorkers, those who make more than $1 million, and use that money to fund universal childcare, public safety reform, and real community investment. He also champions a fresh digital campaign: memes, social media, youth energy. His online presence is vivid. Critics argue, can he really pay for all this? Will New York's budget survive? Is his agenda too idealistic? Supporters answer, maybe it's time for bold dreams. Maybe New York deserves justice, not just growth. With Mamdani, New York is entering a new era, one defined by identity, equity, and youthful ambition. The big picture. So what does this journey teach us? That New York's mayors are more than politicians. They are architects of the city's soul. They rebuild it, they break it, they transform it, they fight for it. From LaGuardia to Mamdani, every mayor carried a vision. Some succeeded, others failed, and many left a legacy that still shapes New York today. Now it's your turn. Which mayor surprised you the most? Which legacy matters more: rebuilding, safety, fairness, or hope? Comment below. If you like the ride, like, subscribe, and share. This is New York, and its story is still being written.